Hi, I'm Ben from Sundown RV. Today I'm going to do the Hilltop 18'6" Feathertop handover. So this is one of our most popular caravans, mid-door, so doors in front of the axles, built by Hilltop. I'm going to show you how everything works inside and out. So let's start with the outside. Come with me, let's have a look. So first up we've got our tunnel boot. So the boot doors, the way these work is we've got push in with your thumbs and pull out with your fingers, like that. So quite simple. They take a little bit of getting used to, but just open that way. So what I want to show you first up is the compliance plate. So in here, I'll turn the light on. The actual light is on, switches on the light up on the ceiling of the tunnel boot. And just there's the compliance plate. That tells you the chassis number, not the chassis number, the VIN number, the weights, when the caravan was manufactured, all that sort of thing. And then we've got another switch up on the top. I'll turn that light off, might be easier to see. We've got another switch up here which turns on and off this light here, which is ideal for barbecue if you've got to slide out from the tunnel boot, or even just your barbecue here or your table, just an extra light out the front. So just keep in mind, because every now and then I get these phone calls, there's no switch, we can't turn on the light over the tunnel boot, just up here on the top of the tunnel boot inside there. Alright, come around the front. We'll come back to the other things in the tunnel boot a bit later. So starting on the front here, compliance plate from FP Chassis, who build the chassis manufacturer, build the chassis, the gas compliance certificate, so that's just information, nothing you need to do with any of it. Gas bottles, when you pick the caravan up, the gas bottles will be full. Now it's really important to note that when you're travelling, the gas bottles always must be turned off. Okay, you can't travel with them open, it's not safe. So always off when you're travelling. When you arrive at your destination, to turn them on, just turn on the one that you're using by undoing the tap, and this tap on the top here, green one, that points to the bottle that you're using at the time. And the idea is we use up the one bottle, and then when that's empty, we switch the tap across to the other bottle and take this one to go and get it filled. Now I'd rather get it filled than do a swap and go, because not all the bottles are the same size, and if you start doing swap and go, you're going to have to start doing adjustments here and try and get it to fit in. And also often you get old grubby looking ones whilst you've got a brand new one, which looks awesome on a brand new caravan. Alright, so that's quite straightforward. Before you travel, always gas bottles off, really important. Jockey wheel is pretty self-explanatory, just winds up or down, comes off on and off with the clamp down here. The only thing to mention is that it's really important that the jockey wheel comes all the way off when travelling. I've seen some people think it's okay to lift it up out of the way, but inevitably if you do that, at some stage it's going to catch on the ground and it's going to end up being all broken and damaged. So just take it right off, either put it in the tunnel boot or in the back of the car, so it's ready to go when you arrive at your destination. Trailer, or the cables, so what we've got here, we've got our standard 12-pin plug. Now on here we're only using the top 7, which is your normal trailer wiring, so those bottom 5 are actually blank. Alright, then we've got our Anderson plug. Anderson plug is power to the fridge, and from the fridge to the battery, and then there's a blocking diode to stop the power coming back from the fridge to the battery. And that's in our standard setup on our 3-way fridges. Alright, which is what we're normally installing in our Hilltop caravans. That's finally the safety Dave cable for the rear view camera. Now this one, just one thing to note is that just here you've got an arrow, and that arrow has a corresponding one on the plug or socket on the car. If you line the 2 arrows up, push it in, you'll always have it lined up correctly, and then just do it up that way. I have the camera on while I'm driving, so the rear view camera on the caravan becomes like my rear view mirror, so I can see what's happening behind the caravan. Alright, so that works really, really well. Just here we've got the safety chains. They hook onto these hooks there. That's just for keeping the chains tidy when you're parked. That's our handbrake. So handbrake off down there, handbrake on. We're going to mess with all the cables, but lift up like that. So that's handbrake on. Obviously when you're travelling, handbrake must be off. The hitch up the front here. So putting it onto the car, that's off. And when it's lowered down onto the table, make sure you clip it down. And that's a really good thing, really important to check before you go. Always check that it is actually clipped on here, otherwise it can pop off. Now with the safety chains, the correct way to join those onto the car is to cross them over and the idea of that is that if the hitch does pop off the ball, that the caravan or the ball, the hitch will land on the chains on the crossover, not all the way down onto the road. But as long as you clip on, you'll find it doesn't come off, it does stay on, all right? And then finally, we've got our breakaway cable, breakaway switch cable, so that's that one there. So that goes to, out of the way, that goes to this pin here. So that's our breakaway switch. I'll show you how that works. So if I pull that, so what that does, that's a pin. There you go there. Now, when that pin's pulled out, the switch in there is activated and the caravan's brakes are actually applied. And the idea is we attach this to the car. Normally I just put it on one of the shackles because there's nowhere else to put it, but if you've got a separate loop on the tow bar with a separate shackle or somewhere else on the car, some cars do have a separate loop you can hook it onto, put it onto there. If the car and caravan separate, the cable will pull, the pin will come out and the caravan's brakes will be applied. Now the way that we're set up with the Hilltops is that we're using the caravan's house battery, the main battery, for powering the breakaway switch and keeping the brakes on. So don't look for a separate breakaway battery. Some caravans do have a separate one, these ones do not. All right, now put that back on. Now, normally it's not something you would use for anything other than as a safety mechanism in case the car and caravan separate. All right, come with me. So around the other side here, last thing on the drawbar is we've got our tap here. So that's for freshwater tap. It's got a guard there to stop stones from damaging it. So that tap there is for water out. That would either come from the tanks if you're running off the pump, or from the hose if you've got the hose connected to the caravan. All right, let's keep moving around the van. So over here we've got the other side of the tunnel boot. So it opens the same way. Push in with your thumbs, pull out with your fingers, opens that way. Now what I didn't show you over on the other side is the key. So the one for these Thetford doors is the round black key. So that's that one there. So that on the Hilltops, the one key does all of these door locks. So the way it works, it just goes in like that, and it's just a quarter of a turn, and then you'll see that's locked. Okay. So same, push it in, quarter of a key, quarter of a turn, quarter of a key, quarter of a turn to lock it. All right, let's keep moving. This is our power inlet. So for power into the caravan, if we're at a caravan park or you're at home and you want the caravan plugged into power, 15 amp, any 15 amp extension cord from hardware store, Bunnings or wherever will connect to that. Doesn't need to be a special caravan one. So 15 amp power cord in. What else have we got? We've got our water filler. Now the way that these caravans are set up is that we've got the water filler goes to a T-piece and that goes to both tanks. And then drawing out, we've got the two 12mm pipes coming out of the bottom of the tanks going to a T-piece, so we're also drawing out from both tanks at the same time. So as long as the caravan's level, the water in the two tanks will be level all the time. And that's why you'll see when we go inside that we've only got one gauge, which shows us the level in both tanks. That's how it's all set up. Now the way that the water filler works, it's this one silver key. To unlock it, the key goes in, like that, turns a quarter of a turn, and then the cap undoes, and hose goes in, fill it up. Don't turn the hose on too much or you'll find it all comes back up out at you. It'll take, it's 190 litres, so to fill it fully from empty, it's probably going to take 15 to 20 minutes. Just put the hose in, let it run. You'll see when it's full, the water will start to come back out from here, and also if you look underneath, there is overflows on both the tanks. You'll see the water starting to come out the overflows. All right, to put it back on, very simple. Do it up until it stops turning, or actually clicks, and then quarter turn back to locked. And you'll find when it's locked, it spins, but it doesn't undo. So that's the locked position. All right. This is our Swift 28 litre gas electric hot water service. Now, there's no maintenance on these. They have a stainless steel tank. There's no sacrificial anode. So don't let people tell you that anode needs to be changed, not on this one. There are some that do need it, this one doesn't. So the only reason to take this cover off would be for repairs, which is normally at a service centre, not something normally the actual caravan user does. Our awning light up the top there, or it's not really an awning light, our outside light up the top there, that's switched from our switches on this side of the caravan inside the van, and we'll have a look at that when we go inside. So while we're here, let's have a look at the wheels and tyres. So these are our standard 15-inch wheels. Now they are actually light truck tyres, which means they can go up to a maximum 80 psi, but for normal use on the bitumen, I'd be running them at between 50 and 55 psi. That's pretty comfortable on a tandem axle. And if you get onto the heavy duty corrugated stuff, drop them down to probably about 35 psi, but make sure you pump them up when you go back on the bitumen, because if you start driving at normal speed, 80, 90 kilometres an hour with the tyres down, you will overheat them. All right, so drive slow, corrugation helps absorb the bumps, but make sure you pump them up back on the bitumen. All right, keeping moving along, this is our vent for behind the fridge. So we've got top and bottom. These have got little catches in the top to undo them, to take them out, and they've also got screws in them which are extra securing mechanisms or screws to stop them coming off, which Hilltop puts on. So normally you would only take them off to do maintenance or work on the fridge, or to clean behind the fridge. If you do need to take them off, screws out first and then the clips up in the top. This one, because this actual van's got the domestic fridge, has got the drain for the fridge coming out here. So that's what that little pipe is. That is meant to be there. That is correct. All right. Just here, that's our jacking point. So if you do get a flat tyre and you have to change the wheel, we jack the caravan up by putting the jack under here and lifting the whole side of the caravan up. So for either front or back wheel, we jack it from here. Now, as you would do with a car, if you do have to change the wheel, loosen the wheel nuts a little bit first, then jack the caravan up, take the wheel off, new wheel nuts, new wheel on, wheel nuts on, tighten them up, but not fully, so they're just nice and firm and tight. Drop it down and then tighten them up really hard again. The other thing that is a good idea if you do get a flat tyre is, after you've driven down the road a little bit and everything's moved around, pull over where it's safe and check that they're really tight again. After everything's moved a little bit, make sure they are tight, okay? It's worth extra 5 minutes to make sure everything's right. The other things, if you come, you'll have to come a bit closer up here, and you'll see that right behind the jacking point we've got our water inlet. So that's for our mains water. If we're at the caravan park and want the water connected, it just clips onto there. It's just a normal hose fitting. Normally for drinking water we use a blue hose, which is available at hardware stores or at caravan suppliers. So blue hose there. If we're going to use the hose for our pressure, for our mains water coming in, then we don't use the pump inside. It's either the hose or the pump. Now that water won't go into the tanks. There's a one-way valve that stops it going in the tanks. So fill the tanks from the filler over there and mains water in there. Next thing is we've got the battery here. So that's our AGM sealed battery. There's no maintenance on these. The only reason to take the cover off, which is undoing these two screws here, is if you need to replace the battery at some point. Now, there is a couple of things to show you underneath here, so it's probably worth coming down here and having a look. So up under here, I've got a 50 amp breaker right here. So that will cut all the power from the battery to the caravan. And I've also got over here an Anderson plug. Now, the Anderson plug is for connecting portable panels to the caravan. That goes directly to the battery. So via the breaker, directly to the battery. There's no controller that goes to that Anderson plug. So if you are going to use a portable panel, make sure that it has a solar controller on the panel. Most portable panels do, but not all. So that's really important. The breaker, if that does pop, it would only really pop if you've got a short somewhere in the van. It's just a matter of squeezing the little clicker back in. All right, so very simple. It's really unusual that does break, but just be aware that it's there. Now, next up, our toilet cassette, same key as the other key, the round Thetford one. I'll show you how this one works. So, just open that one. Now, to take the cassette out, we lift up this orange bar and slide out. So that's the cassette. Now, when it's slid into the caravan, that door is open, and then on the toilet, which we'll have a look at when we go inside the caravan, there's a lever which opens the cassette. When you're not using the toilet, my strong recommendation is always have it closed. 2 reasons: that contains any smells or anything from the toilet, and also means that you won't accidentally drive off with it open in that position. It can all splash out and goes down into here, and then someone's got to clean that out, which is pull out that cover, get the sponge and the rubber gloves and give it a clean out. Not so terrible, but not a job that you're probably aiming to have. So keep that closed when you're not using it. So that goes back in. This here, so that's for emptying the cassette. Now that normally has the grey cap on it. The grey cap at the moment, as it's brand new, is in the toilet. Once you set it up, grey cap always stays on here. Now the cap is used as a measuring device, so to measure how much chemical goes in to the cassette. Normally I do a cap full. I put it in here because that's easier. So a cap full of chemical into here, bit of water in there, and that's ready to go. Close it up, take it back to put back in. Now, when you take the cassette out, cap's on there, you want to take it to the dump point. So it's really easy, pull it out, pull the handle out, because it's quite heavy when it's full, and away you go to the dump point. Now, one thing to note, when you do go to empty it, so you'll turn that, take the cap off, tip it into the dump point. Mostly they have like a big rubbish bin lid that lifts up, so it's really easy, they're clean. That button there, that lets air into the cassette while you're emptying it out, so that helps it to all run out much quicker and easier. So push the button in, tip it in. What I do, once it's empty, get the hose, there's always a hose there at the dump point, give it a bit of a wash inside, swish around, tip it out again, then put a bit of water in. I don't measure how much, I'll put a little bit of water in, put a cap full of chemical, and that's it. Cap back on here, and I'm ready to go. Now slide it back in. There is one thing to note, so that clips in there. The thing I want to point out is that if you come out to pull the cassette out, and it won't come out, you go, it's jammed, don't force it, because if you do, you'll break it. What happens is, if the door, if that's in the open position, that's sideways and the cassette won't come out, and if you force it, you'll actually break the mechanism up top. So if you find it's not coming out, go back inside the van, make sure that it's properly closed. Even if it's almost closed like that, it won't come out. It has to be in the fully closed straight position. So always just go back inside, check it, and you'll find, oh yeah, that's right, it wasn't 100% closed. Come back out, it will just slide out. Alright, just make sure that's clipped in there when you put it in, and that way it doesn't move around. And close it up. Okay, what have we got next? Our generator hatch. So, it doesn't really need to be a generator hatch, it's a storage locker. We think it's ideal for a generator because it's sealed from the caravan. You won't get any fumes into the van from the generator, from the petrol, but it's ideal for storing for whatever you want to put in it. Alright, and that's the same key again. Just push it shut, and same round key locks that one up. Okay, only other thing I've got to point out here is the grey water outlet. So that's our grey water outlet there. That's got a push-on fitting with the hose. Hose is normally under the bed when the caravan's supply new, and that just pushes on there, and then either goes off onto the ground away from the caravan or into the drain if you're at a caravan park, just depending on where it needs to have it go. On the 18.6 we've got the stabiliser legs on the back, which I'll talk about in a minute, but we've got them actually folding up sideways, not forward and back, which is just because we've got other things there. Works exactly the same, and we'll have a look at those in a minute around the other side. What else have we got on the back? We've got our spare wheel, which is exactly the same wheel as the other wheels on the van. Our safety day rear view camera, so that's up there. Jerry can holder, so the jerry can holder over here, that's for carrying either diesel, fuel or water. It's not for petrol or gas. Obviously gas doesn't fit in there, but you're not allowed to carry gas on the back, only diesel or water. Alright, that's really the back. The only other thing to say, that vent there, it's a vent for the back of the shower, and it's also an access point in case you need to get to the fittings behind the taps on the shower. That's your access point. It's siliconed on, it's not something you would normally take off, but just so you know if you do need to get to it. Alright, come round to the front of the caravan with me. So the awning, this one's got an Aussie Traveller awning on it. We're using both Dometic and Aussie Traveller at the moment. They work in exactly the same way. I'm not going to get it out at the moment because we don't have room, we're in the showroom. I have done a video which is on our website which shows exactly how the awnings open and close and how they work. So check that out if you need to know how the awning works. Around here, jacking point, same as on the other side, so that's the one jacking point to lift the whole side of the caravan up. Speakers, so external speakers, they're controlled by the stereo, and it's the fade function front to rear is the inside to outside for the sound, and we'll have a look at that when we go inside the van. The picnic table, just folds down like that. Now this is a really awesome thing. Might seem a bit like, oh yeah, whatever, but it's not whatever, because it's perfect for the toaster, for the kettle, when you're doing stuff outside. It is really, really handy. Now these ones have got a light in them, which the switch is just here, and the light's up the top there. And again, really useful for night time, so you can see what you're doing out here. Now, above the picnic table, we've got a 240 volt outlet. So that's for plugging in the kettle or the toaster, the TV, whatever you want to use it for. But that's 240 volt out. Obviously, maybe not obviously, you have to have 240 volts plugged into the other side of the van to get 240 out of this side. Just here, I've got 12 volt power. So that's what I would normally use for my TV. I just bring all the cords out all together as the one thing. 12 volt power there and antenna there. So the middle one is the antenna, that's the 240. And this is really cool. This is 2 USB connections there. So if you want to charge your phone or your iPad, you can plug USB straight into there and have your phone or whatever on the table here. Just cover something like that. Now when you close these, it just pulls up. One thing to make sure, something I always check, I always do a walk around the caravan before I go anywhere. Make sure that these are actually clipped up. They won't normally do it, but they could be not sitting properly, so that's not actually clipped in. So I want to make sure that's actually clipped in, can't flop open while we're driving. Okay, let's have a look at the door. Now the door key, that's the oval shaped one. Oh, it's a sunbeam right in my eye. Okay, that's the oval shaped one, is the door key there. So the way that this works is very simple, pushes in there and it's just the other way, quarter of a turn, and you can see that that's open, that's out, and quarter of a turn locked. So when it's in flush, that's the door locked, and when it's sticking out, door open. All right, open the door, we just pull the handle. Now, what I've got, I'll show you here. So I've got this hook thing here. That hooks straight onto here to hold the door open, so it's not banging around in the wind if you want the door left open. It's not really high tech, but it works well. Now, if I want to separate the outside from the wide door, you might want to come in close for this one. I've got two handles. So I've got this little lever here, and I've got this handle here. And once I lift that up, this one's a bit sticky, brand new, but they separate that way. So once they're separated, I'll put the hook back on so it doesn't blow in the wind. There's not a lot of wind in the showroom, but just imagine there's a lot of wind. And then to close the wide door, I can close it like that. And then if I want, I can lock it. I can lock it from the inside as well. But now it's secure with my security mesh, but plenty of airflow. So it's really nice. Let it breeze through. All right. To unlock it, same thing. Key in, quarter of a turn. Open. To put the two back together, all I do is squeeze them together like that. All right. So it works really well. Very secure. We've got 4 locking points. And yeah, don't lock your keys inside because they are really hard to open when they're locked. To lock it from inside, it's just that there. So that's open, that's locked. So really simple. The blind just works like a blind. It just blinds down. You don't need to come down to there just to block out the light for sleeping or privacy. And then goes like a blind, goes up again. Yes. Okay, next up is our light. So we've got a little red button under here. I don't know if you can see it from there, but that turns on and off the handle light, and it also turns on and off the step light. All right, so that's great for if you go out during the night, you want to be able to find your caravan. Not saying no one else will have one of these on their van, but at least you'll be able to see where it is, particularly if you're free camping and you're coming back, it's really dark, leave that on, it's really much easier to find your caravan. Step's really straightforward. To put it in, just lift up the front a little bit, slides in, and to pull it out, just pulls out like that, just out like that. So simple. Nearly there on the outside, we've got the gas bayonet down here. I'll show that so it's easier to see. So the gas bayonet, that's got a cover on it now. That's for a barbecue, which either could be in a tunnel boot or a portable one. Now, the one thing to remember is you need a can't get that off, but it's coming off, a bayonet fitting to go into there, and you've already got a regulator between here and the gas bottle, so you don't need a regulator on your barbecue. You don't use 2 regulators, only ever 1. All right, and that's just a dust cap to stop dust and bugs going in when you're not using it. All right. So the one thing we haven't looked at is the legs. So the stabiliser legs are there now. When you arrive at a spot, you do need to get the caravan level. Now, The way that I like to do it, the simple way, is use a levelling ramp, which is one of those graduated ramps. Either back the caravan or pull the caravan onto the ramp to make the caravan level side to side. Then once you unhook from the car, use the jockey wheel to make the caravan level front to back. So that's how you get the caravan level, and then you use the stabiliser legs to stop the caravan rocking. Here we are. Right. So the wind down legs. This is the winder for the legs. So the way this works is just put the winder onto this fitting there, and this is to wind up. We just wind this way. When we're packing up, pull out the handle, lift up the leg, out of the way, that's it. Now when you arrive, exact opposite, drop down the leg. Ideally have it straight down, vertical, in the vertical position, but it's not necessary. If the ground here is sloping up, you've got a mound here, you can have it on an angle like that and just wind it out so that it's supporting the caravan. And the idea is just wind it until you've got some pressure down. We're not trying to lift the caravan with the winder. If you start trying to lift the caravan with the winder, you'll find you will damage the leg. Now it's okay to use a cordless drill, but don't use an impact driver. Impact drivers put so much torque on here, they actually break the gears inside. Okay, so I just use the winder by hand because it's really quick and easy anyway, and you can then feel how much you're winding. But if you feel the need, use the cordless drill, that's fine, but definitely no impact drivers, okay? Because we find they just break them. Alright, so that goes back in there. Always put it away, don't leave it on the ground because no doubt you'll drive off and that's where it'll be. That's the outside of the caravan. So next we're going to go inside, and we're going to go all around the inside and have a look at the features and benefits. Okay, I've grabbed a coffee, and there it is, magnificent. That's normally what we do. We do handovers, grab a coffee, take our time, have a look through everything. Let's have a look at the inside. Come with me. Yum. Alright, so I'm going to start at the door. I'm going to work my way around, hopefully not miss anything. I suppose I better start down here right at the door, and that's with the light switch. So that's just here. So that switch there, it's not just a light switch, that's the 12 volt power. So that will turn off all the power to the caravan on the 12 volt. It won't turn off the pump, and it won't turn off the controls on the fridge, but it turns off your lights, your radio, your TV. So if you're going out for the day, you can just flick that switch off and you know all your 12 volt power's off. Your solar panels are still charging, everything's still working, but you're not wasting power on things that you're not using. Alright, really importantly, here at the door we've got the fire extinguisher, so you probably can't see it from there, but mounted up here. Just come around and have a look because this is really important. Even though it's something hopefully you'll never use, you do need to know how to take it off. So it's got a clip from behind which comes off that way, and then it pulls out like that. If you do need to use it, you pull that pin out, point it at the base of the fire, and hopefully the fire's out. Make yourself familiar with it, because if you do have a need for it, even a few seconds to get to it quickly and get it out and to use it could be the difference between really a non-event and quite a bad event. So just be familiar with that, and then to put it back in, just pushes in and that way and clips back in like that, and that's it, nice and secure. While we're talking about fire extinguishers, let's talk about smoke alarms. The smoke alarm uses a 9 volt battery, so it's not hardwired in. When we service the caravan, which we recommend is done at least once every 12 months, we always replace the smoke alarm battery. I think that's probably the most important thing in the service. I know we talk about brakes and bearings and pressure testing the gas system. Yes, we do all of that, and it's all important, but having a working smoke alarm in your caravan is really important. If you do have a fire, you want to know about it and you want to be able to get out quickly. So make sure that's in good working order. All right, so moving around, starting at the door, we've got our light switches here. So we've got 3 of the switches do the middle lights of the caravan on the ceiling, and the 4th switch does the outside lights under the awning. I'll put those back on, turn the outside one off, and let's keep moving around. So I want to show you how these windows work. They're very cool. These are the Ranger windows, and the way they work is to open the window, you unclip each of these clips, like that. And then you lift it out, and you can actually put it out in any position you want. So you can have it all the way up here and just lock it in position with the two knobs, one on each side. So it's a huge amount of airflow. If it's windy or you don't want that much but you want a little bit of fresh air, you can put it right down here and lock it off there or anywhere in between. To close it, just loosen off the knobs and close it up that way. Now for travelling, make sure that always all your latches are done up. That's the window. Alright, so the way the blinds work is we can pull down, so that's our fly wire for airflow but no bugs, or I can put the blind up, which is our block out blind, so that's for sleeping, keeping the light out, or privacy. Now also I can have it anywhere in between, so I can have air but some privacy. And the way these work is it's a magnetic catch, so it's just a magnet between the two, and they just click together and pull apart. So there's no bits to pop off and springs to find like some of the windows have. These ones are just magnets, which is great. For travelling, I like to have them open, and the main reason is any dirt or dust won't be on the blinds or the fly screen when I arrive. So they're in the open position, but of course the window fully latch closed for travelling. Let's keep moving around. So next to the bed, we've got two USB points, and some people don't know how these work. Very simple, so it just slides like that. So two USBs, perfect for your phone or your iPad. For me, my phone goes on there, and that way that's my clock for during the night, and also if I need to set the alarm for the morning, I've got it right there next to the bed. Two 240 volt points, of course they only work if you've got 240 volts coming into the caravan. Next to the bed, that's just hanging space, so hanging around there. Down here, nice big drawer. It's actually a lot of space in there. That's for me, socks and jocks, that sort of thing in there. And then down the bottom, you've got a small storage space because you've actually got the tunnel boot running across under the bed, under there. Next to the bed, bedside lights, pretty much self-explanatory, on or off. And that's just storage cupboards up the top. I'm going to move around to the other side of the bed. So over here we've got the same two USB charging points and 240 volts. Now I've got two light switches over here. These are actually two-way switches for the main overhead lights. So one switch does the middle lights of the caravan and the other switch does the middle lights over the bed. Alright, so it's possible that the ones at the door could be in the off position and the lights are still on because these are two-way with those ones. Up here, that's our 240 volt breaker. So if that is in the down position, no power will be coming in, no 240 volt power in. Now the way I normally know whether I've got power coming into the caravan or not is I have a look at the microwave. If the lights are on for the microwave, or the clock, that tells me that I've got power coming in. So first thing I would do, if I've got the power plugged into the caravan but no power, is I'll come and check this breaker, and if it's off, flick it back on. Now that can trip sometimes, and it's not necessarily a huge problem. It could be just a spike in power or something like that, so just a matter of resetting it. But if it's constantly clicking off, then there must be some sort of a short, some sort of problem with the caravan, and we need to have a look at it. So probably first thing to do is to either give us at Sundown RV a call or Hilltop a call and just explain what's happening, and we'll figure out the right way to deal with it. Wind-up antenna. Now this is our Wingard wind-up antenna. The way this one works is we just wind in the direction of the arrow. So to get TV reception, we do need to have it up, and for travelling, we do need to have it down. So when you arrive and you're setting up, just wind it up all the way to the top. You might be able to see, if you have a look through the hatch, the antenna going up. If not, it is in one of our videos. So that's the antenna going all the way up. Now I just want to show you, just stay there, I'll wind until it stops. Now that's how you turn it. Now if you come back down and have a look inside, what I'm actually doing to turn the antenna is I'm pulling down on this ring and I'm just turning it like that. So I'm turning it so that it faces the right way to get the best signal from the TV station. That's going to be different everywhere you go. The best way to work out which way to face your antenna, poke your head out the door or have a look out the window and see where everybody else is facing their antennas and face yours the same way. And I find that's almost foolproof. It always works really, really well for me. Now the important thing to know with these antennas is for putting them down, if you have a look over here, I've got two arrows. I've got one on the pull down ring and I've got one up there on the ceiling. So I need to line those up before I wind down. So there you go, you can see they're lined up. and that way I know the antenna will come down in the right position on the roof. So once those are lined up, I just wind it down all the way till it stops, and there it goes. You can hear it hitting the roof. So that's down in its correct position. Now, next up is this cupboard up here. There's quite a lot in here. So what we've got in here, we've got our solar controller up there. Now the solar controller, that's controlling power from the solar panels to the batteries, making sure that they're charging correctly. It also stops them overcharging, and it will also cut out all the 12-volt power to the caravan if the voltage on the battery gets too low. So they're normally set for about 11.7 or 11.6 volts, and if the batteries go below that, they will cut off the power to stop the batteries from getting damaged. There's nothing you need to do with that. It tells you about power coming in, power going out, but you don't need to actually do anything with it. If we come down now and have a look down here, here's our pump. So this switch here, that's our pump. So you can hear that's coming on now. And that pump, we probably don't have water in the van at the moment, I'll check in a minute, I'll turn it off, but the way that works, that will pump until the whole system of the caravan gets up to pressure, and then it will turn off. If you find that it's turning on, the pump's turning on, but you haven't got a tap on or any reason why the water would be running, then there's a problem. And the problem could be a leak somewhere, or it could be that the pressure switch on the pump needs adjusting, but don't ignore it, it's something that does need to be addressed. Right, back up to the cupboard up here. So we've got two more switches next to the pump. We've got one says hot water electric and one says hot water gas. So they are for the hot water service. Hot water electric is if you want to use your hot water service using the mains power, and gas is when you're free camping to run the hot water service off the gas bottles. And the way the gas one works is that you've got a little orange light up the top there. That will flash while it's trying to light. Once it has lit, it'll stay on bright orange, and once the hot water service gets up to temperature, the light will then turn off. The flame will turn off and the light will turn off. When it cools down and it automatically comes back on to heat up the water, the light will come on flashing and then on steady whilst the flame is on. So that's what it's doing up there. Last thing up here in the cupboard, this box here, that's your booster for your TV. I'm going to pull this one out. That's the power for the TV, and that's the antenna for the TV, and that black button there, that turns on and off the booster. If the booster's off, you won't get any signal at all from the TV antenna, so you won't be able to watch TV from free-to-air TV. If you're not getting any signal, just check that the green light's on. That's the first thing to check. I leave it on all the time. It hardly uses any power, so I don't worry about turning it off, but it does have to be on in order to get signal. And then this last cable up the top with the yellow plug, that's for the video signal from the stereo to the TV, so that you can watch movies from the stereo onto the TV. So I'm going to close that. Just moving down to the bottom here, this is our TV bracket. So the TV comes with the bracket already on it, and it just drops onto there. It does have locking screws at the back. I personally don't bother to use those at all because I always take the TV off for travelling. So it just sits there when I'm using it. When I'm not, I take it off. I actually put it under the pillow on the bed, and I find that way it sits there, it doesn't move anywhere. When I get there, it's easy, grab it, chuck it on, plug in the cables. Now the cables, really simple. You've got your antenna cable there, so that plugs in on the side of the TV. You've got your video cable there, which is if you want to watch movies from the TV. I just always plug them all in. That goes into the yellow AV inlet one, and then you've got your 12-volt DC power, which plugs in there. Now, good idea, plug all these in, just coming back up to the cupboard. Once these are all plugged in, then plug that in last. That way you won't have a short. It is quite easy if you plug the antenna in first and then you plug the power in to cause a short by touching the body of the TV, and that will blow the fuse. Not the end of the world, and we'll have a look in a sec at how we replace the fuse, but to avoid that, plug everything else in and then plug that in last. Alright, and then travelling, we have got a travel lock here. It's not really important because we're not travelling with the TV on the bracket, but can use it if you want to. Let's have a look down the bottom here in this cupboard. So here's our 12-volt fuses. So that's got a cover on the box. I'm going to pop that off. So the way these work, these are normal car fuses, and if you blow a fuse, you can see some of the lights went off, it went a little bit dark, and that light next to the fuse went off. So if I would have blown this fuse, the light next to it will show, and I know I just have to replace it with a new fuse. This one's got a couple of spares down the bottom there, So it's just a matter of taking out one of those and putting it in. You can get replacements just at any garage or car parts shop. Okay, let's keep going. Sip of coffee, that helps. Right, microwave. So the microwave opens that way. This has got the foam holding the plate. Actually, it's quite a good idea to keep that, to keep the plate in so it doesn't bang around, or take the plate out when you're travelling. It is a good idea to take the plate out when you're travelling so it's not bouncing around. Just put it in the drawer or pack it so it can't fall out. Okay, that just works like a microwave, so don't know that much about that microwave other than push the button and start.
It's fancier than a normal microwave.
It's fancy.
It's got a pizza setting.
Pizza, yeah, so I don't have pizza in my caravan, but maybe I will now that I've got a pizza sitting on the microwave. Right, these just drawers here, so they're all very simple. Pull out and in. Whenever they're closed, they're locked, so there's no need to push buttons or lock them or anything. They lock by themselves. The tap is just a standard mixer tap. A light over the bench, so the way that works is it's a touch right in the middle of the light. So one touch is on half, 2 touches is on bright, and 3 touches is off again. Windows are all the same. Before we go to stereos and things, let's have a quick look at the hatch while we're here. So the hatch works very much like the windows, except that on the locks we've actually got a button, a locking button, that red button there. So we need to push the button in to unlock it, and then put the bar down and lift up. Now you can have it fully open all the way up, which is great on a nice calm day or inside the showroom. If it's windy, you don't want it fully open, but you do want some ventilation. Pull down on the hatch and pop it on that little ledge there, and then there's these black clips that just lock it in place, and now it can't go anywhere, so it's really secure. For travelling, of course, always have the lid closed down, so that goes just up and back down. Pop that out of the way and lock these both back in place. Now, just like the windows, we've got one side is fly wire, the other side is a blockout blind and a magnetic catch for holding it together, and you can have it half and half or whatever you want. When you're travelling, it's important to always have them open like that. So lid down, locked, and blind and flywire open. The reason we say that is that when big trucks come past, they can actually cause suction into the hatch and pull the blind up that way, and it actually damages the screen. So it's not the end of the world, but better to always travel with them open. The only other thing with the hatches is you've got extra lights there. That's probably a little bit blinding, but if you need to perform surgery or just want extra bright light in your caravan, you've got even more lights up there, which is great. Right, next thing is the stereo. So I need some glasses for this one. So this stereo here, the way it works, it's got Bluetooth, so you can actually connect your phone to it for your music, which is awesome. That's something I really like. On and off will be the power button, which is just here. So goodbye, and then turn it on. Just hold that button in there until the lights come on. Now it's a car stereo. You can set stations on it, but keep in mind that when you travel around, you go to different areas, you're going to have to retune it all the time, because in the different areas the radio stations broadcast on different frequencies. Volume is just there. And then the main function I'm going to show you is the fading. So we just push this button here. That's bass, mid, treble, balance, fade. So fade is front to back, is inside to outside. So front to back is inside to outside. So front will be just inside sound on, and rear will be all just outside on, and 0 is half inside and half outside. So let's put it back to all inside for that normal use. Okay, and then back to the beginning. You've got DVD or CD player goes in there, so you can play movies to your TV. If you do want to do that, you do need the radio remote control to start and stop and play. And you've got USB input there as well. So if you want to use a USB stick or portable hard disk, you can plug in there for movies or sound as well from music. So that's our stereo. There's more details in our book. Also, just a heads up, when you're connecting your phone to the Bluetooth, these new models require a password. The password is always 1234, and once you've put it in once, you won't have to put it in again. Beautiful, thanks Gemma, and I've learnt something today as well. So the password for Bluetooth connection, 1234. If you can't remember, Gemma's always available. Give her a call, she's the guru. All right, so the range hood's pretty self-explanatory. On and off is that button there, light is that button there, and then you've got 3 fan speeds, and off, and then you can turn it right off there. So, and that's got filters there. You can take them off, take it off to wash it, or put it in the dishwasher when you get home to wash it, and that actually exhausts outside the caravan. So that's really good when you're cooking. For me, cooking is really, you know, things like vegetables or rice or, you know, noodles, pasta, whatever it is that you like to cook in the caravan. But meat for me is outside on the barbecue, so we don't get the smells and everything in the caravan. Before we do the cooker, more light switches. So these light switches here, these all do the bulkhead or edge lights of the caravan, except for this one here, and that does the outside of the caravan on that side, the light at the top that we looked at when we were outside. So that's those ones there. The cooker, it's got a catch on the front here for travel, just lifts up that way to open. You've got 3 gas and 1 electric. The red one there, that's a bigger flame. That's a wok burner, so that can fold across if you want to put a wok or that sort of a pan on there. And then electric, you need 240 volts coming into the caravan, and then you've got the electric element there as well. Now these work, I haven't got the gas on at the moment, but push in, and there might be a little bit of gas in the system, and clicks, and no gas, but you have to hold it in for a few seconds till the thermocouple switch gets hot, and then the flame will stay on without holding it, just like a home one, and that's a safety mechanism. We've got the same for the grill, so gas grill, gas oven. Now these have got a fan forced oven in them. Keep in mind, they only work when you connect it to 240 volts. You can still use the oven when you're free camping without power, but you won't be able to use the fan. And from personal experience, it still works really, really well. And as long as you've got a gemma or someone to turn things over a little bit more often than you would with the fan forced, or some roast vegetables, you won't be disappointed. Oh, good point, Gemma. The last thing, we've got the switch here. So that's actually a gas cut-off switch there. Now, the grill and the oven will not work unless you have the lid open. So no gas will come through because of that switch. Don't try to circumvent it. It's a safety mechanism. It's important. So make sure the lid's open if you want to use the gas on any part of the oven. Next up is our fridge. So this is the fridge. So very simple, open and close. That's the lock there. So it's the freezer, a nice big freezer. And same thing for the fridge, that's the lock there. So just like a fridge really. Close there, I suppose. The only other thing is the temperature setting. So that's actually not in the fridge on this one, it's actually on the setting here. So at the moment on, I'm just going to turn it off, so we start from the start. So it's now turned off. Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. So to turn the fridge on, push this button and hold it in. Okay, now it's firing up. Alright, so what it's telling me is that it's on nearly the coldest, not quite. It's on auto and it's trying to run on gas. So if I want to change the temperature, I push that button, and now I've got the temperature there if I want to do it. Just push it one more time, and now I can change the temperature setting. So I'll turn it back to halfway and push again. So now you can see it's still on auto, but the temperature is only halfway. If I want to change the other settings, push, and now I don't want the temperature, so I turn the button, and I want to change it from auto. So auto, push the button, and now I can choose 240 volts, battery, gas, or go back to the previous screen. I actually do want it on auto, so I'm going to leave it there because that's how I will always run the fridge. So set for auto, it's trying to light on gas, and now I need to go back to the previous screen. So that's now in the lock position, it's working. It's trying to light on gas. The gas bottle's off, so it's not successful, but it's trying to. And it's on half on the temperature. So in a minute when it decides it can't light on gas, it will come up with a message saying that it's not actually working. Alright, now I'm going to turn it off because we're in the showroom and I don't want my fridge going cold and then mouldy. So hold the button in and off it goes. There is a user manual there as well, just by scrolling through, and it will actually tell you how to do all the settings. So it's a little bit tricky at first, but I think you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. And if you don't, Gemma's a guru with these things. Okay, moving on into the ensuite. Come with me. This is quite important about travelling. So for the ensuite door, you've got 2 locks. You've got one down there on the floor, which I use my foot to do, and behind the door here I've got a cabin hook which hooks into there. So that stops the door actually tipping and also from sliding. You only need to have those latched when you're travelling, but it is important to latch them when you are travelling. When you're not, I would have that open and the hook off. As long as you've got your caravan level, and this will be the test, your door will stay in whichever position you leave it. So closed, stays closed. If you've actually gone, oh no, that's level enough, don't worry about it, you'll discover that you'll open the door and it will just kind of move itself, and you'll go, oh yeah, probably didn't get it quite level this time. So that's the door. The hatches in here, so they're very simple. Same, there's one over the toilet, one over the shower. To open them, we just turn this knob here. That does let really good light in and also ventilation. The fan, minus, which is that way, draws air out. Middle is off, and plus actually blows air in if you want to push fresh air into the caravan. You can run the fan with the lid shut. It has actually got a vent so it lets the air through. So if it's raining, you can still operate it with the lid completely shut. When you're travelling, always have it shut. And like the other hatch, you've got a switch there for extra light if you need extra light whilst using the toilet or shaving or whatever it is that you're doing. The toilet, this is a little bit involved here. So the toilet doesn't have its own flush tank, it just works off the whole caravan system. So you need to have pressure either from the hose or the pump being on. When you push the blue button, that has operates a solenoid, which lets the water flush to flush the toilet, and it will flush for as long as you're holding the button down. As soon as you release, it will stop flushing. Over here, there's a little red light, and when the cassette is nearly full, the little red light will come on, and it will tell you that it's time to empty the cassette. For the toilet itself, so that's the starter cap that I was talking about, and the grey cap that goes on the cassette, and that's a starter pack of chemical. I actually use the green chemical myself. There's green or blue. The green's meant to be more environmentally friendly, and it can go into septic tanks, which this one's not meant to. So I just use green, which seems to work really well for me. For the toilet itself, the lever that I was talking about, I'm going to just swing the toilet around because it's made to actually turn. So that's down the bottom here. So to open the cassette, if you have a look in the toilet, you can actually see that's opening and closing. So as I said, outside, when not using, always keep it closed. When you are using, always have it open. Alright, let's pop that back in there. We've got a light here if you want extra reading light for when you're on the toilet or shaving or doing your hair, I don't know, whatever you do in the bathroom. You've also got 2 USB points for charging and also 12 volt, which could be useful for a 12 volt shower or hairdryer. Over here, I've got storage. So that's really good for towels or sheets, things like that. And underneath that, you've got the generator hatch, which is what we looked at from outside. The sink's pretty self-explanatory. Push button for the plug for closing it off. Just push it down, push again to bring it up. Same as over the kitchen sink, touch light. 1 touch is half, 2 touches is full, 3 is off. The washing machine. So the washing machine, the important thing with this one, normally when travelling I recommend keep the tap in the off position. Power I don't worry about so much, but just in case you get any sort of hoses come loose or anything, better to have the water tap turned off. It is important that this, that is junk in there, but this basket here, it's great for putting pegs or whatever in. It's actually a really important feature that stops the barrel of the washing machine from banging around like that when you're travelling. So when you're not using the machine, always have it in. When you are using the machine, always have it out. So that just clips in like that. Pop that back in there. The shower. So shower is just around here. So awesome size shower. At the moment it's cable tied up. What I do recommend is that when you're travelling, you actually take the shower head down and either put a sock on it or wrap it in the bath mat, but something to stop it banging and scratching the bottom of the shower and itself getting banged. And also, if you have it already down, it can't actually fall down if you go over a bump and cause damage. Some people use a basket, put their shampoos and soaps and all that sort of thing in the basket, and then put the shower head in the basket for travelling. The shower itself has got a magnetic lock down the side of the door there, and it's got a travel lock just here. So that's only necessary for when you're travelling. It's completely ineffective for locking people in the shower because it actually has a knob on the inside so they can still open it and get out. So don't get any ideas. That's the ensuite. We're nearly there. Next up we've got the footrest on the end of the couch here. So the way this works, that looks up that way. Sometimes these pop up by themselves, sometimes they don't. This one has. So it's got those two supports there. These are not for sitting on, they're not strong enough for sitting on, they're just for putting your feet on whilst sitting back watching TV or relaxing in your van. To put them back down, there's two buttons on the ends here, just squeeze those and down it goes. So it works really well. I think we'll just have a quick look at the air conditioner. Now we're not currently plugged into 240 volts. These air conditioners, they're an inverter air conditioner. They've got a control panel here, and when you are plugged in, you'll be able to see the on-off switch and the buttons. You can completely control this from here, or you can control it from the remote control, and they work really, really well. Awesome. The automatic IBIS 4 air conditioner. The table. So the way these, I'm going to move this off here because I'll be in all sorts of trouble if I break it. Now the way that these tables work is we've got a lever over here which we squeeze, and that allows me, so that's that lever there, that allows me to turn the table, spin the table, put it wherever I want. So if I'm sitting here, I might prefer to have it there. That's just much easier for me to flop on and off the couch, so that you have it wherever you want. Now it also, this goes down so it can be an extra bed if you want it to. I've turned it around this way so the handle's on this side, and what I'm going to do, turn it out of the way, is this button here on the floor. All I'm going to do is step on that, push it down and lean on the table. And while I was doing that, I was squeezing the lever, which allowed me to slide it where I wanted, put it into my position. There we go. The tick cushion, which the caravan comes with, that's the cushion that goes in there to make it a bed, goes on the top there, and then you've got your extra bed if you need it. When you want to put it back to normal, it's really simple. Just step on the button on the floor again, up it comes, and push it back to wherever you want it. Put the decorations back. Don't get in trouble with Gabby. Everything's great. I think the last thing that I haven't shown, apart from this USB, same as next to the bed, we've got an extra USB point there, is under the bed. So if we just swap places here, so the bed lifts up, and we've got a whole lot of storage under here. And what have we got here? We've got inline water filter, so that's if you want to put that inline on your hose for filling your tank. So that's supplied by Hilltop, so that's really handy. Grey water hose, so that just pushes onto the grey water outlet that I showed you outside. And our 24-inch TV, LED TV with the bracket on it, so that's there under the bed. That's where that comes in. The caravan's new. You will also get a manual which is done up by Gemma, which is a summary of all the instructions, which is really, really handy because it gives you just like the important basics of how everything works. And then if you want more details, you would go to each of the books, which is in a box that we supply with the caravan, together with the user manual. So that's it. That's our Hilltop Feathertop 18'6" caravan. Any questions, you know where to find us. Give us a ring, send us an email, let me know how we can help.